Welcome everyone. We're going to do a lovely grounding flow today. So what you're going to need for your practice is 2 blocks and a blanket. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is come into a comfortable seat. I recommend engaging in one of our breath practices or creating an intention before you begin, spending some time actually breathing. And this particular flow is going to open up a lot of the root and pelvis, both strengthening and releasing any tension in the root and the pelvis. One of the reasons that we do this in the beginning of this time of the year, it happens to be spring for us, is that this is the time of the year when there's a lot more water and earth present. And so we want to honor those places in our body and create a practice that's going to support freedom and health and nourishment in those areas of our being. So that's what you have in store. So the first thing you want to do is come into a comfortable seat. You might want to get a blanket like Kaylee's gotten here, create a little cushioning. And then turn your palms into a face-up position so that you're in a gesture of receiving. Take a nice clarifying breath. You might close your eyes to cultivate a sense of presence with the breath. Push that breath all the way out and then let your lips fall together and find a nice rhythmic flow of breath. So we want to be aware of both the in and the out breath as well as those gentle pauses in between. And I always attach to that metaphor of the circular breath. So there's never a square breath. It's really more like the breath continues to flow into itself, always present. And the breath represents that current, that water element through the body that you get to be present to throughout our practice today. When the mind wanders into an active state, just bring it back to this presence. And again, you can pause and stay a little bit longer if you like, but we're ready to begin moving and linking movement with breath. So on the next inhale, go ahead and sweep the arms towards sky in a way that's comfortable, and the exhale brings the hands back down to the earth. And just come in and out. Start to link this very simple movement. The in-breath of your own speed pulls the breath skyward, and the entirety of the exhale is encompassed in the downward movement. On your next exhale, go ahead and bring the hands out in front of your cross-legged pose. You might widen your base a little bit if you like. And fold forward, walking the hands forward to feel a nice release in the hips and low back. Kaylee's quite flexible, so she can go kind of far. Some of you might only go an inch or two. Whatever feels right for your body. And just taking a couple breaths there. It doesn't matter which leg's in front. We're going to come into a switched position in just a moment here. So go ahead and walk your hands back towards the body and switch the top or front leg. Make sure that's really comfortable. Inhale, long spine, and then as you exhale, you can reach the hands. Exhale, plant the hands to the earth, and then walk your hands forward once more. You'll notice again the asymmetry in the body, very natural expression of our asymmetrical lifestyle. It's okay. And just imagine that breath taking residence down here in the low body, all the qualities of that breath. You might stay a little extra on this second side. We tend to favor the easy side in taking our initial seat. So maybe 2 breaths longer on the second, less habitual side. And then when you're ready, go ahead and transfer onto hands and knees, taking a blanket underneath your knees. Make sure your tabletop pose is nice and comfortable. And then begin some cat-cow movement. This is a nice baseline, integrating breath and movement. Inhaling across the front, exhaling across the back. And I'm going to allow you and Kaylee today to just find organic movement that's really nourishing for your body. So if you want to roll the ribs or twist, and include that sinking back to heels as you like. You might stretch back into a child's pose. Just these first initial breaths is a way to warm up the spine and to reconnect to that sense of flow in the body. Yeah. And on Haley's next inhale, I'm going to have her pause there in table and take wide knees. Your toes can point towards each other. They don't have to touch, but they can be inward. We're going to do some nice big hip circles. So the in-breath's going to take you up to table. And as you exhale, shift to one side, drag the hips back to heels, and then come up the other side. Once you complete your circle, reverse the direction. Yeah. You can also go around in one side, or you can, for a while, and then repeat on the other side. But just try to link that movement and breath. Complete the circle so there's balance. You'll notice that as she moves, there's a lot of movement in the pelvis. The hips are rolling around. We're trying to activate the water element in the body where it rests in the low pelvis and abdomen. Okay, and then pausing in neutral after that next circle is complete. We're going to take our hips off to the right side and bring the knees up to point to the right. Okay, so you might shift your blanket, Kaylee, to show, or you might shift your body so that the right knee faces the front of your mat. Oh, just the opposite. Right knee forward. Okay, so bringing your right foot to the top of the left thigh. So this is kind of a wide seat. You might already feel a little bit of stretch in the pelvis. You want to make sure this is comfortable. So if you need your knees closer together, you can. Otherwise, try to take as wide of a seat as comfortable and straddle those front legs. Okay, so straddle that front knee. And then what we're going to do is what we call Dolphin Flow. So just start to take a movement. As you inhale, we're going to scoop down, inhaling, lift up. And as you exhale, free the hands and curl back. So she's drawing a circle with her nose or her sternum and integrating that movement with breath. And it's very organic. She's going to squeeze the belly. Inhale, one more breath. I can't help but move with you. It's a very organic flow. After this next inhale, let's lay the belly down onto the thigh and stretch the left arm forward, that left arm way out in front. Okay, so that right hand can stay either forearm to ground, or you can slide the right hand back by the right shoulder and press into it to create a little twisting sensation. Noticing that I was a little bit out of screen there, so I'm coming back a bit. One more breath. And then slide that left hand back to the right knee and come upright. We're going to twist around to the right. So taking that left hand to right knee, inhale, long spine. As you exhale, twist. And you want to feel that twist coming across the abdomen. If you have any scar tissue there or cramps, this is a really nice way to alleviate tension in the low abdomen. And the traction of the hand can create that freedom for you. Yeah, nice inhales, and the exhale deepens the twist. One more breath. Now you're going to take that right hand and plant it behind you on the ground. And as you inhale, we'll sweep that right arm up, press into the shins, and as you exhale, lower down. And you just sweep. You can have a dynamic movement with the arm. You can have stationary movement with the arm, coming in and out. So this is really the movement in and out of the pose really helps stir up that current in the body. But you can also come in and hold the posture if you like for a couple breaths, and still think about moving that current even as you stay in a pose. And the exhale, sweep the hand down and walk the hands just towards that left shin. We're going to squish the tissue in our left side body there. So we're squeezing all the fat. We're squeezing the descending colon and stomach. We're just giving that a good squeeze. Yeah, and then as you inhale, come upright. We're going to take the knees over to the other side. I'm going to take cross-legged. Yeah. So adjusting the pose a little bit. You can straddle your knee to face me. I'll try to get out of your way a little bit. Yeah. And then go ahead and do that dolphin flow. Yeah. So you're just integrating movement with breath. Don't worry too much about how the breath is moving through the body if you're doing the connection of movement with breath. Really, we just want to keep dropping into the breath because it reminds us of presence. After this inhale, exhale, lay the belly down onto the thigh and stretch the right arm forward. Left palm can either come down on the earth or you can press back. So you'll notice a big stretch here across the top, but she's also getting a big stretch, which you feel across that left thigh. Breathing into that, feeling that deep stretch, all of this tissue along the side of the leg, relieving and releasing. One more breath. Slide that hand back towards the body. Come upright, and we're going to twist. So the right hand's going to come to the kneecap. Inhale, long spine, and then as you exhale, twist behind. So the inhale, you think about lengthening and lifting, and the exhale, you're wringing out. You really want to cultivate that sense of wringing out across the pelvis to the left here. One more breath. And then finally, planting that left hand down, the in-breath is going to push you up, coming into a back bend, push into the earth, and the exhale will take you back down. So as you lift, you want to press into the ground to get that rebound energy, and exhale down. A couple more, I believe. You can come in and stay for these last couple breaths if you like, or you can continue to oscillate. Exhale, lower down on that next out breath and reach around to the right shin. And we're going to compress the belly on that second side. Yeah, just a little squeezing. A lot of times we're uncomfortable with the fat rolls that we have in our belly. We work pretty hard to embrace our body. So we want to make sure that as you squeeze there, there's no language about changing that experience. Go ahead and unwind out of the pose. All right, we're going to come onto hands and knees one more time. So square off your mat and your blanket and everything. Thank you, friend. Go ahead and scooch a little bit closer to the end of the front edge of your mat. There you go, just so that I'm not cutting you off here. So I'm going to have you from tabletop here. Go ahead and tuck your toes and fan the toes out onto the earth. I'm going to take a moment here to stretch out the feet. So we want to wake up our root. When we create flow, we want to feel anchored and tethered and stable, rooted to the earth. And so our feet are the very first point of contact through that process. So from this pose, you can either stay here or you can shift your hips back towards the heel into what I kind of call a cat pouncing pose. It's sort of an upright child's pose. You're putting a little more weight on the feet. This should feel good. If it does not feel good, you can untuck the toes. You can just take a gentler expression of this. But this is a really nice actual preventative for plantar fasciitis and a way to stretch out the feet. Okay, and then come back into tabletop pose, and we're going to take this heart-opening Anahatasana now. So we'll just keep the hips where they are. You can either keep the toes tucked or untucked, and then walk your hands forward. They might come off your mat now, and just stretch way down. Yeah, I've got you pretty far forward on the mat. So the hands are a little bit wider than shoulder distance. Inner elbows roll to the sky, right? Want to feel brightness. What that does is it stabilizes shoulder joint, and you have this long arc, a very gentle back bend that's also very grounding. If your head doesn't hit the earth, that's fine. You can either hold the head or you can bring it to a block. I'm always liking us to ground the mind since we live in such a tense world these days. Last breath. All right, good work. Bring hands under the shoulders. Find your way back into down dog. When Kaylee arrives in down dog, just note she's a really beautiful expression of down dog. Length from hands to hips, soft knees here. Go ahead and tread out your heels. We call this a walking dog sometimes, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And what this does is it starts stretching out her root. Now she let her hips seesaw a little bit side to side. When you bend one knee, go ahead, yeah. And that straight leg, you can feel a little stretching in the hips. So pause and center there. We're going to take the right foot around the top of the left foot and point it back. And go ahead and roll over the tops of those left toes, or right toes rather. And she's also getting an intense stretch in the left hip too. If you run or you work out in other ways, sometimes those muscles can be tight. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Bringing the feet back. She relaxes that right heel down, left foot comes around. Toes, and you can roll through the tops of the toes. This is also a nice stretch for your ankle if you need that. And again, if it doesn't feel good, you don't have to engage in that. Bring the feet back together, and then slowly, little tiny steps at a time, take a walk towards the front of your mat into a hanging forward bend. And you'll start in hanging forward bend. Flatten your feet out so you really feel the connection to the earth. Center of the feet is where your weight lies. And from this position, just a really subtle, just to begin with, soften left knee a little bit, keeping that right leg straight. You're going to get a little shift in the sacrum here, stretching out, just really subtle, and then go ahead and do that again on the other side. Nice work. And come back into center. Now have you bend your knees so the belly rests on it, and then walk your hands up to your thighs into a supported chair pose. So let's pause here for a moment. I want you to think about the energy is if you take your hands to the outside of your legs, push the knees against them. So you're creating resistance, activating the external muscles of the thigh. Now bring the hands to the inside of the legs and try to squeeze the knees together while resisting. So the inner thighs and the outer thighs, you want to activate both of those muscles and then come back into your free chair. Hands can rest on the thighs, taking a couple breaths with those muscles activated. Yeah, so it really strengthens the root. When you're ready, press into the earth, arms come all the way up, and then exhale, draw hands to heart center. Well done. Take a couple breaths here to integrate for a moment before we begin the next flow. We're going to leave our blankets on the mat for that next series that we're going to move through. And then go ahead and take your feet a little wider than hip distance apart. Toes turn out slightly. We're going to move out of something called a waterfall. So essentially you're going to be lifting the heels off the ground to strengthen the ankle stability as well as your foot stability and strength. So as you inhale, reach the arms forward, lift the heels off the ground. Inhale, lift up. And as you exhale, soft knees and come into a really subtle chair. Exhale, heels down, hands reach back. Just a soft chair. We're going to go deeper and deeper. Each in-breath, lift back up with control. Exhale, lower just an inch or two deeper into that chair, hands reach behind you. 2 more, just like that. Now integrate with your movement and your breath. Haley's really deliberate and slow. It's one of the reasons I love having her as my student here today. 1 more breath. You can really see the challenge of getting up. Nice. And exhale all the way down into that deep chair. From here, inhale up 1 more time. Yep. And then exhale, dive down into hanging forward fold. Good work. All right. Okay, so go ahead and take your hands to shins. Inhale, flat back, and exhale, fold. Let's do that a couple of times there. 1 and out. All right, now step your left foot back on the mat into a deep lunge, and then drop your knee onto your blanket. Good. Shift your hips forward and take a moment here to activate the inner and outer thigh of this back leg. You want to really push into the earth with this back leg and push into the earth with the front foot. So that creates a lot of stability. You're going to gather up the root of your pelvic floor. Then as you inhale, reach the arms forward and up. And as you exhale, squeeze shoulder blades. Do nice big circles. Scrape the earth as you come up. We want to gather up that grounding energy and pull it up through the body. Each in-breath lifts. And each exhale, squeeze down. And on this next inhalation, come in and hold the pose, but keep breathing dynamically. Steady yourself, nice deep breath, lots of energy through this back foot and leg. 1 more in-breath. Then as you exhale, frame the foot, and you can take your blocks under your hands if you like. And we'll shift on the next out-breath all the way back. So shift to your comfort of extension. And on that end range, as soon as you feel that resistance coming back, go ahead, inhale, pulse out just about 3 to 4 inches, and then exhale, deepen that. Pull that right hip back a little. Feel what it feels like to explore different positions of the pelvis, of the foot. And you're going to feel different tension in the sacrum, in the root, and just find that sense of depth and presence, but comfort too. We never want to be in pain or discomfort. Last exhale. Now shift your weight forward, coming back towards your lunge, and bring your hands to the inside of the foot. You can either use blocks or just bring hands. And then walk that foot like Kaylee's doing, turning the toes slightly out, and let the hips relax down. So we're still activating through the legs, but the pelvis is shifting forward. You're going to get a really deep stretch across the bottom of the right butt cheek and across the front of the left hip. And it's really important in this posture to keep breathing, pushing that stagnation and limitation through. Okay. 1 last breath here. Okay, now bring the hands to a position of support. Walk that foot in just a little bit. We're going to tuck the back toes and have you come around into a wide-legged forward bend. All right, so toes can be slightly turned out. If you need them more, that's fine, but you want to feel comfortable. You don't want to be stressed on the ankles or anything. going to feel comfortable. And what we'll do is lunge side to side. So the in-breath, come through center, and the exhale, shift the hips. Go ahead and shift over to the right there, sinking towards the heel. The in-breath takes you through center, and the exhale takes you towards left heel. All right? And you'll just slide side to side again, letting the breath be your teacher, be your guide here. And as you sink towards the sides, you're going to feel an inner thigh stretch on the out breath with the extended leg, and a little bit of efforting through the back of the bent leg. Let's stay there for a moment. On that right side, take a couple of breaths, that first side, whatever that was for you. Taking some nice deep breaths, feeling the stretch, feeling the effort, and then come to the other side. In breath through, out breath sinking to the other side. Nice. Again, you'll feel some asymmetry in the pelvis, possibly. It's totally okay, it's very normal. And then come back in through center. And let's this time take our hands for a walk to behind us, right, towards the back, the other side of the mat. And you'll see, Kaylee's gonna, do I keep calling you Haley? I feel like I'm going to. Kaylee is reaching her fingers back. We have a Haley in our program as well. We'll shout out to her. Nice deep breath. You want to keep that weight over the center of your feet as you do this pose too, front to back. All right, bring your hands under the shoulders. So now we're going to walk towards the left foot and take our blanket to be padding underneath the knee. Now I'm going to have to figure out what position is good for me. Actually, you can see Kaylee pretty well here. So I'll just say here, yep, go ahead and walk and come into low lunge facing that left foot. So we're just basically doing that same thing on the other side. So get yourself situated, energize that back leg, and then big sweeps with the arms. I'm getting into the plant and I are becoming BFFs here. Yeah, big sweeps. Gather up that root energy, opening the heart, squeeze the shoulders. One more breath, inhale, and let's stay there and breathe dynamically. Refining the pose. When we stay in a pose, we get to become more intimate with it. Finding your breath, feeling that energy. One more inhale, and then exhale, frame the foot. I'm going to grab your blocks for you. I should have told you to take your blocks with you. So if you're at home and you don't have an assistant for your yoga practice, just pause and get your yoga blocks. So then we're going to exhale back to extend that left leg. Find your end range. Knee can be as bent as you need to through that extension. And then just pulse on that end range. The toes can lift or they can be extended. And just explore a variety of end ranges to see what's going on in your sacrum. We spend so much of our day outside of ourselves that it's really nice to drop into our root and really become aware on a subtle energy level. One more exhale. Let's shift the hips forward again and bring the hands to the inside of that left foot now. Walk the left foot to the edge of the mat and turn the toes slightly out. So the knee can relax out. As she's going to drop her hips forward, the knee can relax out to the side. You can't really see it in this shot, but her knee can relax out to the side. We just don't want to roll to the side of the foot. We're trying to get really nice and deep into those particular muscles that are supported by this pose. Yeah, just about 2 more breaths here. Still energy through that extended leg, still a sense of presence and sensation. Okay, so walk that foot in towards the left hand, and we're going to tuck the back toes, and then come up, tuck the back toes, come up to standing wide-legged, facing the side of your mat again. Okay, so from that position, this time we're going to turn out the toes and move into a goddess position on exhale. So the inhale is going to sweep the arms up. Yep, adjust. You all good? You all good? All right, inhale, exhale into goddess cactus arms. So each in-breath, lift up, and as you exhale, you're going to notice her knees come wide. If your knees collapse in towards each other, adjust your stance to make it more shallow. So you want to feel like the weight is on your heels and towards the back of the body. Exhaling down. Let's hold that pose for a moment, feeling nice and strong. Your inner thighs are rolling open. You're sinking into the heels. You're not feeling collapse in the instep of the foot. Go ahead and keep the squat there and then drop the elbows towards the knees and bring the hands towards the shins. Now you can either rest here or you can grab hold and come into flat back. So dropping the chest, lifting the hips to create like a table surface. And you can deepen the pose, you can explore, you can come out of the pose as you need to, whatever feels right for your body. Okay, one more breath. It's kind of a delicious pose, but it can feel like a lot of work after a few breaths. So let's go ahead and free yourself a little bit. Ground the hands. We're going to step back into down dog facing the front of your mat. So this next flow is a plank flow. If you're taking it easy today, you can come and rest into crocodile pose, which has forehead to forearms. Otherwise, it's just one plank pose flow. So go ahead and flow into plank if that calls to you today. We're going to start with the right hand under the gaze and then shift onto the side of the right foot, and the left foot's going to come up and step sideways halfway to create, yep, that's in the way, to create support. And open into side plank. So this is nice because the leg is supporting her, opening, breathing dynamically, anywhere from 3 to 5 breaths. So Kaylee, I'm going to let you decide when you feel complete there, as long as it's under 5 breaths. Yeah, Kaylee's got a pretty strong practice, so I might have to reel her in. Go ahead and exhale down. Yeah, back into down dog. Okay, take a moment there to reset. Down dog's a nice reset pose. Float back into plank. This time step the left hand under the gaze from plank, and then roll to the left foot, step that right foot forward simultaneously. Yeah, so this is really nice. You can see how bright her heart is. You can see the support that she's got from the extra leg. Nice deep breath, and strive for balance, but it's okay if that doesn't happen for you. One more in breath and exhale, folding forward. Back into down dog one more time. You can always choose down puppy too if that's better for you. And then let's come into child's pose. So we're lucky, we have a really we've decided we would like to marry the rug because it's super soft. So we don't need the padding as much as maybe you do at home. So get padding if you need that. Walk the hands back towards the body. We're going to come into seated. So I'm going to have Kaylee turn. And we're going to start into seated facing, we're going to face you, facing the camera. So she's going to get a little padding underneath her bottom. So we're going to come into a twist called Matsyendrasana. So we'll start by extending both legs out in front and then pull that right knee into chest. So you might stay here. This might be where you want to stay. If you can cross that right foot over your thighs, you can do that. And then also if you can go to the next level, wrapping the left foot around, you can wrap it around. Now you'll notice that Kaylee is nice and tall. If you wrap that foot around and you feel off kilter, go ahead and come back to that extended leg. If you still feel off kilter, coming to that first position. All right, so we're going to ground that right hand now. Inhale, left arm up, and you can either hug or you can come to the outside of that leg and twist. Now what we're really after here, since we're doing more of the hip exploration today, is a sense of stretch in the outside of the leg and the hip. In breath, and as you exhale, really wring out the abdomen. You notice Kaylee's looking behind her, having that nice stretch. And remember that in breath, always in a twist, we want to feel really long. So if you ever can't reach with that back hand, use a block to extend your reach. One more breath. Yeah, nice. And gently unwind out of the pose. So that was right leg on top. We're going to extend both legs. Take one brief moment. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. And relax there for a second. Just feeling that symmetry of body. Maybe compressing your tummy a little bit. I'm starting to get hungry myself. Inhale, walk the hands back up. So this time we're going to extend right leg, left leg comes in. Stepping over, wrapping around, whatever feels right for your body, but keep the sits bones, long spine sits bones pushing in. Ground the left hand this time. Inhale, right arm up. And as you exhale, you can hug or you can come to the outside. It all depends on your flexibility and your preference. So you'll notice Kaylee's doing movement with her neck. So your neck is an extension of your spine. You can either move that or you can stay on the end range. And taking about 2 more breaths to find balance. Push into the root, really lift that crown. Yeah. Nicely done. Okay, and unwind out of the pose. Let's bring the soles of the feet together now into cobbler pose. Now you can bring those feet really close in if you have lots of flexibility. I have lots of flexibility in this pose. You can also bring your feet further out. We're going to start with a little bit of a back bend, so reaching those fingers behind you. And you can turn your hands back like Kaylee has done. You can also have your fingers forward. Creates a little more opening across the front. And just pressing those knees down into the earth as you come back. And we're just going to stay here about 3 or 4 breaths. Big, deep, nourishing breaths as we draw that energy back to the earth. And then release out of the pose and come forward, either grabbing ankles, feet, or just walking the hands forward into a nice fold. You'll notice that Kaylee does a few things habitually now that I kind of beat into my students, but she surrenders her neck. And that's just a very normal thing to have neck tension, to have chronic holding and unconscious holding in the neck. So as often as you're able to let go of the neck, we encourage that. It's good to have a strong neck, but you honestly probably have plenty of tension in your neck. One more breath. Well done. All right, rise on up. We're going to come onto our backs again. So go ahead and bring your head towards the front of your mat. Doesn't matter which side you're on. We're just doing this so we look awesome on camera. Okay, so bring the knees into your chest and take your hand palms to your kneecaps. We're going to draw little sacrum circles. So she's just doing circles with her knees and massaging around the outside of her sacrum, reverse direction. Yeah. And then she's going to release the knees, drop the feet on the floor, knees bent. We're going to start with the left leg extended up towards the sky. And then exhale, just cross the legs as if you're sitting in a chair. You know how we cross the legs with the knee on top of knee. If you can't reach that, then go ahead and take a, go ahead and demonstrate this, but take a wider ankle towards knee. But mostly we're after knee stacked on knee. Now this is a very deep spinal twist and it really does stretch all the way down into the sacrum. If that does not feel good for you and you know that, then go ahead and uncross the legs and take this twist. So take your arms out into a T, a low T, palms down, inhale, and then as you exhale, just let your knees fall towards the left. And you'll notice a big stretch all the way across her spine. Nice deep breath. She can either keep her gaze neutral or look over her left shoulder. It's just really up to her. You soften your gaze. Maybe take a clarifying breath here. This twist is deeply surrendering and detoxifying. It's really nice to push everything that's no longer serving you, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, out of your practice. And let's bring the knees back through center. Uncross the legs. Let's go right into the other side. We'll do a counter pose later. Crossing the knees, inhale, and then as you exhale, drop over to the opposite side. This is a nice demonstration here. You can actually see, I don't know if you can see those tracks on her shirt, but she's got these lines. Really see how there's this dynamic pull and that her sacrum is just getting this really nice, healthy stretch. Again, if this does not serve you, uncross those legs. Try to relax effort here. Let the gravitational pull draw you into the earth. All right, and bringing the legs back upright, uncross the legs. We're going to take the knees into the shoulders. So this is going to be our last posture, like we often finish in Happy Baby. Happy Baby is beautiful after this practice because we did a lot of work around the sacrum. And so this is a really nice way to symmetrically stabilize and stretch at the same time. It's very cute. Kaylee wiggles her toes, probably very unconscious for her, but some people will rock side to side. You can do whatever you want. And then finally, you get to rest, and that is an important step. Please do not skip it. Give yourself at least a minute. But coming into your own version of Shavasana, if your back hurts, I'm going to have you demonstrate this, Kaylee. If your back ever hurts in a pose when you come into Shavasana, go ahead and bend your knees. You can collapse them together. You can also take blocks underneath your knees. Go ahead and extend like this. You can have it under both sides. Might make it a little comfortable for you. That can ease any tension in the low back. It's a really nice way to finish. Take a nice clarifying breath. Exhale. Let your lips fall together. Close your eyes and let the breath settle out now. You don't need to be in charge. And see if you can tap into that sense of current. This feeling of the breath and prana moving through you, just like a river, settling things out, pushing away old obstacles. And allow yourself to be in the space of receiving. You can stay here for several moments. I recommend at least 3 more minutes. I would say 10 minutes is divine. And just take your time when you're ready to come out of the pose. Wiggle those. You don't have to do this now unless you're ready to come up, but you can wiggle. Do you want to demonstrate it? Okay, so we're going to demonstrate it. So wiggle your fingers and toes. Deepen the breath. And before we move out of Shavasana, when we're in class together, we take a moment to just anchor ourselves. Perhaps there's a feeling that showed up during practice or an intention. One thing we talked about today was just really establishing that sense of connection to current in the body. And this can be a focal point for your life off the mat, something to return to when you feel out of balance or triggered. So we'll anchor that in the heart before we get moving with the next moments of our day. So you can bend your knees and roll onto your right side, cradling your head for a moment. Yes, and then go ahead and push yourself up to seated. A nice way to close your practice at home is bringing hands to heart center, bowing chin to chest. This is a mudra to just offer a sense of closure. It's a seal mudra. Thank you so much for practicing with us today. Namaste. Namaste.